Music appreciation 101.
Yes. I'm so curious because you're talking about visual learner and three-dimensional stuff. One of the like aha moments for me on guitar was I think I was talking to a jazz drummer and they were talking about shapes, like playing in shapes, like like they would hit toms in like ways that like form geometric patterns in their heads. And then I started to like play that with like triads and stuff like that. I've seen you do some really cool triad stuff in some of your lessons. Do you think in shapes? Or like how do you approach like the fretboard as a visual learner? Like what made those things click and not just be like scale, cage system patterny things, but like musical?
I feel like the first instance of like a breakthrough in that way would actually be when I finally was able to like, when I was finally able to just know every single note on a fretboard, just, any string, any fret, like you can figure out whatever that note is.
Yeah.
And like brutally knowing it, like just like in a snap, like being able to say exactly what it is without having to think like, oh, like what are my octave patterns? So like, you can learn the low E and the A string.
Uh-huh.
All the other four strings on a guitar, like it still is somewhat of a mystery. So that was the first one in terms of the way that I just was able to visualize what key I would be playing in any given moment at any given point on the fretboard. So that was the first one.
Yeah, it's great.
The way that I really visualize it is, I guess shapes, but like it's really just like those caged patterns.
Right.
It's, the whole thing.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I'm going to like jump up to the C pattern and like play this little ditty. And like, that's what I know how to do there. I always say this to like students, especially people who are like just starting out. It's like, you have to learn how to play guitar and then you have to like completely unlearn how to play it in order to really get good at it. And so now it just comes down to like, the whole entire fretboard becomes like this dot pattern.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I already know that are in the key and that we're at. And then, beyond that, a lot of what I do is also involving a lot of chromatics and stuff like that, especially with shreddy stuff, because you got to like have notes somewhere. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out. So then it comes down to like, learning where you can break the rules and just like play whatever notes are right there. And it doesn't matter as long as like the downbeat is the right note.
Cool.
And I learned a lot of that from jazz too, because it's like, if you're playing like some crazy altered line over the chord going to a one chord, all those notes don't even matter. You can play all the wrong notes in the world, but as long as you land on the right note, everybody's going to be like, bravo.
Yes.
So good. Worst, if you land on that right note, you're golden.
That's one of the things that people, I don't think, realize. Like, that's one of the separator points from a good musician to a great musician. Great musicians know how to turn their mistakes into successes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Especially in like a situation where you're the soloer. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to like make, if you play a chord wrong, on.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody looking at you like, what the heck are you doing? But yeah, as a solo, it's like learning how to just do the wrong thing, but make it sound right, Yeah.
And sticking those landings.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sticking those landings. Like, like the freaking in the Olympics, the people who like jump off the trampoline and then are just spinning around the air. I don't know what they're doing. Getting on that mat and they're like, bam. It's like, yeah,
Totally.
Into it, but it's the same thing. You're just kind of, flailing in the wind, especially with some of those shreddy things that I do and that I like to do so much. It's like a lot of that stuff is just kind of like throwing in notes to fill up the space.
Cool.
Or kind of surrounded by the target notes that I know I want to go to.
I like it.
And so, a lot of also what I think about is just pentatonics, like just wherever the pentatonic scale is in any given situation is, that's a lot of the battle for guitar players is, figuring out how to make that pentatonic scale work. Cause those are notes, that's most of it right there.
That's the magic. That's the magic.
That work before you make anything else work, really.
Totally. And it's fun that we're talking about these things because so in some of the earlier podcasts, I talked about like what is a chromatic scale of like basically Western music. Like we got all those 12 notes. You're going to use all those 12 notes. If you have anything that you want at that buffet, you can take some. Pentatonic scale is like on the opposite end. It's like we are picking 5 of these notes and we're going to make those sing.
Yeah, exactly.